Welcome back, episode 27 of The Burrows. It's a kind of somber one here, even though a few days have gone by. But last episode we did was the first that the Mets were out. Now it's the first that neither team is playing, and baseball's over. The season has ended. Kevin Bunk, Michael Merlo coming to you every week. Maybe not after this every week. Definitely not every week. But we will be continuing throughout the offseason. So this is not the final episode of The Burrows this year, but it is the last regular weekly episode of the show. Mike, your thoughts, your feelings. Baseball's over. It's into football season now. Upset, sad, neither.
It's sad. And I'll tell you this, I felt bad for you the other night because, and I had heard this a couple of places and it's true, it was really tough for the rare Yankee Jet fan, okay, to have to sit through, not sit through, but, watch and live and die with every pitch of these intense postseason games and then have to flip on Amazon Prime or flip over to MetLife Stadium like you did and sit there and stress about your New York Jets over there on a Thursday night. That's not the easiest ask in the world. So I did feel for you the other night, but yeah, it's sad that baseball's over. I mean, it was such a fun postseason. I mean, we were locked into it, I think, especially me, more so than any year in a very long time, watching every game. And it was exciting, and it's sad it's finally over.
Yeah, it stinks. A fun year all around. A little bit of a dip in the middle of the summer for Yankee fans, a rough start for Mets fans. But overall, I think we can say we enjoyed and had fun for about 80% of this baseball season. Because even if you include the playoffs, I mean, the Mets played all but 5 games that happened after they were out. So both teams went the distance. We were very lucky, I think, doing this first year on the show. Not to make this about our show here, because we're going to talk about free agency and we're going to get right into the big Aaron Boone question right after this that I have. And we'll see what Mike thinks. But we were very lucky this year with our show to have had both teams make runs, one of them in the World Series. And I think that, we're going to have that for the next couple of years. One of the teams close to or always representing New York in the World Series. That's how promising the future is for these teams. That's how competitive they are within their respective leagues. But let's get into just a quick World Series thoughts that we have. Aaron Boone, Mike, do you think that he should get fired, as a lot of Yankee fans are suggesting, or do you think that's just irrational anger right after losing the World Series?
I'll pose a question to you. So I read an article from from Joel Sherman yesterday in the New York Post, and they talked about how Mookie Betts they were talking about Mookie Betts playing balls off the wall, okay, and throwing them in the second base and getting him in as quick as possible and trying to hold the runner to first base on a ball off the wall, right? And they said, just Mookie is an incredibly hard worker, and he does this every single day. I wonder what the Yankee routine is every single day, because their fundamentals were so bad. Defensively, they were so bad. Base running was so bad. These are things that should have been worked on every single day. And I ask you this, do they work on it every single day? And if they don't, would it be a decision of the manager, Aaron Boone, to make sure they're working on it every single day?
Yeah, I definitely think it's on Boone if they're not working on it. I would say what I take from the Betts thing is that's an exceptional player and mind taking his own responsibility and doing this on his own. So I don't think Dave Roberts is mandating he does that. I think Betts does it on his own. But that being said, you look at the errors that the Yankees made throughout the year almost, and I have 2 different thoughts. So you can take one group of guys and you just say, well, Aaron Judge drops the fly in Game 5. He has never dropped a fly like that. He has not made an error in center field all year, and that was just unfortunate. That's something that you can't put on the manager. Same thing with the rest of that inning, really. Anthony Volpe, Gold Glove shortstop. I know that we have spoke about, and I have been a little bit of a critic as to whether or not Volpe truly is one of the elite defensive shortstops in the league. But
got to make that play.
And you expect him to make that play. And then with a platinum glove first baseman and a Cy Young winning veteran pitcher, I know for a fact the Yankees have worked on PFPs in practice. That's just spring training. I mean, you could always see teams working on PFPs in spring training. So Cole knows to cover first. Rizzo knows to get to first and really expect the pitcher to be there, try and make the play on your own. So that group of issues is not a Boone thing. But Gleyber Torres making errors for 6 years straight, costing them game one. Lazy play in the corner outfields, at the wall. Soto and Verdugo, new guys on the team this year. Those are guys that I think Boone has to make an imprint on. Don't expect that they learn this stuff. And let's be honest, Mike, Soto is not a very good outfielder.
No.
Soto, I think, had some real blunders in the corners, real blunders in foul territory that don't really get noticed, don't get talked about because they didn't cost runs, they didn't cost games. But Soto could have been better all year long. Torres could have been better for 6 years. So, they have issues. And Oswaldo Cabrera makes an error at second base in game one, diving past a ground ball. So, they have issues with the long-term guys that they've developed, really not named Aaron Judge.
Yeah. So, and the other thing, they couldn't throw guys out to save their lives in the middle of the year. That ended up not really costing them in the postseason, but that was an issue as well, whether you want to blame the catchers or the pitchers. But yeah, and I want to go back to a specific play in game one. People want to blame Aaron Boone for game one. That's fine. I can blame him too. But how about Soto on that double, that liner scorcher off the wall from Ohtani in game one? And Soto can't get the ball out of his glove. And Ohtani's probably getting to second anyway, but it wouldn't have been a close play because of how hard the ball was hit. And then he throws it into second base. Torres tries to olay it. It knocks off the glove. And now with one out, at the tying run, which ends up being the tying run that comes in to score, is on on third base. All you need is a fly ball. And that's exactly what happened. So, you can put the game on Torres too in game one.
And can Soto not make that catch at the wall? He didn't even attempt. Now, this is something we'll get into in a little bit, but Soto's free agency, the biggest problem I have with it is if this is going to stick Aaron Judge in center field, who is, I don't care. Maybe Betts is better. Judge is the best right fielder in the league. Maybe Betts is better. And to lose that hurt them this year. But let me ask you this on Boone before we get into the dynamic of Soto, and you're 100% right on that game one play. It felt like it lost them the game with Soto and Torres, and it felt like it ultimately put them at a complete disadvantage to try and win this series. Not going to say it lost them the series, but it put them in a terrible place to try and win. Does Aaron Boone, you said this about Robert Saleh on the Sunday recap weeks ago. If you're not going to be a critic of Aaron Boone, which I don't blame the series on him, I really don't.
Mm-hmm.
Just tell me, though, what does he add? What advantage do you have with Aaron Boone as your manager? Feels like no advantage. Even if you don't want to say you're at a disadvantage with him, it doesn't feel like he's bringing anything to the table that makes you a better team.
I'll pose another question to you. Does him having the relationship he does with these players and the respect that he garners from these players in that locker room, does that add anything for you? And I'm asking you, the fan, do you care about that? Because if you do, then that's what he adds. He adds a good culture into that locker room that those guys want to walk into every single day. And that's half the battle of being a major league manager.
The culture has felt very relaxed, but it is good. And Mike, I agree with you. That is a big part of this. You need to have a manager who does have a relationship and a trust, mutual trust with the players.
But I don't want it to be relaxed. I don't
want it to be relaxed. And I think
that's the criticism.
You're the New York Yankees. You're not going to get a manager that can't connect with the clubhouse. But if you were to fire Boone, this is what bothers me with these arguments. Oh, fire Boone. Well, Aaron Boone just got you to the World Series. He didn't hinder your ability to get there. He was actually very good against the subpar managers and opponents in the American League bracket. But you can consider firing him, and you have justified means to do it. But you have to say to me, if you're going to tell me that you're going to fire him and you want to fire him, who the manager is going to be. Because you're not going to do Brad Ausmus and elevate him. You're not going to pick Matt Blake to be your manager. So who's it going to be? It's not going to be Rojas. I'm not okay with that. You would need to give me, I would have needed to get Francona. And I'm going to I don't want Buck Showalter at this point.
Right.
Really don't. And I give you the one name that I would take to be the manager of the New York Yankees over Aaron Boone that I think is a realistic option, not some fantasy Bruce Bochy. It's not like Jim Leland is going to come coach the team at 79 years old and fix things. Terry Collins is the only guy that I think would take the job and would be a better manager, but would he even fit the culture of Brian Cashman's Yankees as a guy that has to take some orders? I don't even think that would happen.
No, I don't think you want Terry Collins either. I love Terry. I don't think you want Terry.
Terry on a short window, you're saying, hey, we got to go win in the next year or two. I think Terry gives you if you let him manage, gives you a better chance to win than
Then go get Buck, because you're basically saying the same thing. If you don't care about the future of your franchise, if you don't care about the younger players getting a chance, you want to win a World Series in the next year or two, then go get Buck.
Unfortunately, I think Buck is just done as a manager. I think the Mets
I think so too.
I think the Mets stint wiped him out, and I feel Terry. I don't want to waste too much time even talking about this because it's not happening.
Great. That's out of left field.
It's not happening. I know, but Terry is a guy that I at least think would step back into managing with an unwavered passion to try and win.
Okay.
I don't think that Buck is totally there. I think he has his regards about coming back.
Yeah. Can I say one more thing on the World Series?
Yeah.
The Yankees didn't let the Dodgers play their game, okay? Mm-hmm. Like, the Dodgers did not play. They didn't crush them offensively. We all have seen the numbers, how they scored one more run. The batting average was lower. The batting average of runners in scoring position was lower. The Yankees, they were not the better team, but they did beat themselves because of how bad defensively they were. And when you have the other team coming out and saying, we let the Yankees play Yankee ball, knowing if they just put the ball in play, good things were going to happen for them every, third or fourth time they did so. This is another question. Is that an indictment on the players, or is that an indictment on the managers? And now I need to see what Brian Cashman does to fix that issue.
Yeah, it's tough to decide who you point the finger to, because defense, the way the Yankees had a defensive lapse this year, it just shouldn't happen in Major League Baseball. Their base running lapses shouldn't happen. It should be their problems that you should have had worked out as a player in middle school. So how are they from coaches? And that's where you go to coaches. They're very easy to fix, you'd think.
Yeah.
Or the player's just way too stubborn. And Gleyber Torres cannot be back on this team next year, because he is one of the biggest culprits of boneheaded mistakes defensively and on the bases that the Yankees have ever had.
I don't care what he did offensively in the postseason. He didn't do enough to say, oh, he's this legend, got to bring him back. He didn't have one of those legendary runs. He was good. He hit, but not enough to bring him back. I've heard that argument. Yeah. Again, you also ran into probably one of the three best defensive teams in the league. And, a team that ran the bases better than anybody in baseball. And that was not a good mix. So, Dodgers deserved it.
And a team that truly, I thought the lineup stacked up pretty equally. So they have the, I guess, only ability in the league to match a good Yankees offensive day. And I thought that both pitching staffs were pretty good overall, from top to bottom, starters to bullpen.
Yeah.
Both did a pretty good job against these lineups. But you ran into the one lineup that could match you, a pitching staff that did match you. And now we're in hindsight of all the Yankees starting pitching have the big advantage thing.
No.
And you were totally right about they have the better ace and more starting pitchers, but they don't have better starters on days 2 and 3. And I think that I was kind of there because how much I hate and don't trust Rodon on the mound. I just cannot do it with him on the mound. But Schmidt, very average for a Game 3 start in the World Series. Heel, you had no idea what you were getting. That was the one game that they did win. And we're sitting here, they won in 5 games, and I said in a video yesterday, that's not by accident. It's not an accident that the Dodgers won the World Series in 5 games here. I know the Yankees beat themselves, but the Yankees beat themselves at a bunch of different points throughout the year, so this shouldn't be a huge surprise.
Yeah, I was actually very proud of myself for that take. Yeah, that's one of the big ones I got right. So it doesn't happen often.
That was good. That was your first right take. This episode 27. That was your first correct take.
That was big for me.
Yeah.
And the Yankees starting pitching, you can't call. I think it's unfair. It's not right to call it average. It was below average with Schmidt. He didn't get into the 3rd inning. What did he go 4? I had interviewed Jeff Nelson yesterday or 2 days ago, and I asked him. I said, did the Yankees have enough high leverage arms? And they probably did, but they had to use these guys so early and often, and this is his answer, that they just ran out of gas. So when you're not getting the length out of your starting pitching, they got nothing outside of Cole. That also killed them. Another reason why they got killed here.
Yep, that was another bad one. Let's go to free agency here. Yankees have a lot of holes. Mets are going to be very active in this offseason. I think this might be, I still haven't looked back at it. I said it to you, though, last week. Might be the biggest offseason in Mets history.
Sure.
It is so pivotal. They have so much money to spend. It feels like an open book offseason from Cohen to Stearns, and he's telling them, go get the top guys. We'll start right away because it involves both teams. Juan Soto. This is going to be a very interesting sweepstakes because I can see him getting anywhere from $525 to $700 in a deal, and the years will be anywhere from 10 to 14, whether teams are willing to fork up the AAV that he's going to require. I'm really interested because everyone says it's Yankees or Mets, and while that may end up being the case, there's not just going to be 2 teams meeting with Soto. You're going to have teams like Toronto, teams like San Francisco meeting with this guy. Philadelphia, I'm sure, will meet with him just to see what kind of creative deal they maybe can get done, if there's a path there. But what's your opening thoughts on the Soto free agency?
Yeah, I think clearly after his comment after the game that he's going. Like, I used to think if it was $20 million more with the Mets, he'd stay with the Yankees, right?
Yeah.
I don't believe that's true. I think if it's a cent more in the right place on the East Coast, he's going. That's what I think is going to happen. Now, I think you're right. I think the Giants could be involved. Toronto will definitely be involved. Philadelphia will be involved. I think the Dodgers will sit down with him. Maybe the Cubs. But I'll tell you what, Philadelphia just added 3 minority owners with big, big money. And John Middleton just said he's not afraid to go over that 3rd luxury tax bracket. So, I don't know what kind of convincing they could do over there in Philadelphia, but it would be fascinating. I hope that doesn't happen, but that would be fascinating. I think Philadelphia is a big player, just like the Mets. And I'll tell you another one. I don't think it's crazy for Washington to be out of the equation either. I don't think that's a crazy take.
Wow, that's something right there.
Because, listen, if the money was right at the time, they offered him $440 million and he said no, like, he would have been willing to go back there. Now, if they pony up what he wants, he's comfortable there. He's won a World Series there. I don't see why he wouldn't.
And they would welcome him back with open arms.
100%. And because it wasn't a bad breakup. And they have some great young talent there. They're going to be winning very, very soon. The window would open up right away if they signed them. I don't think they'd be a World Series contender next season, but the year after, they'd be one of the favorites. So that's an interesting place for him to go.
That's a good. I can see it as a dark horse. This is what people don't understand. I think people really try to sit here and just say, oh, well, it's only the Mets and Yankees. They're going to be the 2 top spenders. They're going to be the 2 top suitors. But in these cases of free agency, look at Ohtani, look at Judge, look at Cole. There's never just the top teams in. There's always a 3rd, 4th, or 5th team in on these guys, giving them legitimate money. You had Aaron Judge got a legitimate contract offer from the Tampa Bay Rays when he became a free agent. So there's always an owner or a group of owners that say, listen, I'm tired of losing or I'm tired of falling short in the postseason. I will throw in an extra $15 million a year If you put in 30 and we'll offer this guy 45 a year, try and muster up another 5 or 6 million a year from owners. And just like that, we have an offer of over $700 million for Juan Soto. So it just takes one or two of those minority guys. Good point on the minority owners. It just takes one or two of those minority guys or a majority owner to just say, you know what? I really want to go get this guy. And we spent cautiously the last few years. Let's go and pull the trigger here.
Now, this is the interesting thing, and I view this as a Mets fan. We mentioned he's not a good right fielder. He's not. And he's probably not a right fielder in 7 or 8 years. Probably a first baseman, which was fine. He better go play first. He better not DH. Better go play first. But, like, can you justify giving this guy $700 million? I mean, can you legitimately justify it? Because he is, again, he is a LeBron James kind of free agent, right? You never see this caliber of player hit the market at this age. He's different. And so where I'd say, all right, at 12 years, $600 million, do it. He completely not only opens up your World Series window to a point where you never thought it could be, but he also extends it as well for both. Yeah. More so the Yankees, because I think the Mets are starting to open now. The Yankees, he extends it. He might be worth it, but it's a really tough call. I can't see him getting 7. I can't. I see him getting 6.
And people seem to have just thrown out the window the reality that teams build contracts based on comparison to other players. So what happens when Scott Boras walks in to Brian Cashman's office and says, all right, we want a 14 for $700 million, no deferrals, or for $701 million, whatever, get more than Ohtani. We want him to be the highest paid player ever. Well, Brian Cashman's going to say, hold on. He was only a few years older than you when he got paid by the Dodgers.
Yeah.
He is the best hitter. He's a better hitter than Soto.
Yeah.
Ohtani. He's a pitcher with a sub-3.5 ERA. He's a base stealer. We're not giving you the money he got with no deferrals. We're not giving that to you.
Right.
That's how these meetings work. And I think that Steve Cohen also, while he loves to spend money and he's shown a willingness, this is a businessman. This is a guy that's not going to get taken to town by someone like Scott Boras because he just wants the player. He's not going to get taken advantage of in that setting, in that office space setting where they're talking. He's not just going to say, all right, I really want him. Here's $715 million. No, because he's still paying money. I still think he cares about the amount of money he pays. But if the price goes up to that point because some other stupid GM owner or, really desperate GM owner decide to go above that $700 million price point, then Cohen will climb. And that's where you have an advantage with him, I think.
Here's the thing, and this is a knock on Cohen, but it can be looked at as a positive. Cohen has not went out there for the big free agent and spent the most money, has offered the most money. Mm-hmm. He offered the same on Yamamoto, right? That was a different kind of free agent, 25-year-old starting pitcher, and they were very aggressive. They offered him a contract, the same as the Dodgers, would have been the highest paid pitcher in the league history. But Cohen has never made the biggest offer to a free agent. People are so afraid of him. This could be looked at as a bad thing or a good thing. I view it as both. He is not going to get crushed here. He's just not. And you make a great point about how much better Ohtani is than this guy to even think he should get $700 million. And I am one of the biggest Juan Soto fans out there. I've loved him since he came up. To think that he is even worth close to that is absolutely crazy. But we know you get more than what you're worth.
Put it into this perspective for the Mets. We had this conversation months ago. If Juan Soto gets, I'm expecting he gets $650 million, 13, 14 years, whatever it is to I think it's 13 years, 650 is $50 million a year. I think he'll get $50 million a year and he'll get 650. But, and I don't think that's even close to his market value. I think that's way over because of the bidding war. Right. So if you're the Mets, say you leave $650 million out on the table. There's $650. You let the Yankees re-sign Soto. Now you're saying, okay, I was just willing to give up $650 million for this player. We didn't get him. I'm going to go give Burns $330 million. I'm going to go give Alonso $150 million. And I have $130 million left to go spend on one more player 2 more players, 4 more quality arms. Like, this is a lot of money to build your baseball team. And I ultimately think that is, when you really map it out, Mike, is that not the better route for the Mets?
It is and it isn't. I understand both sides. We are talking about a generational player.
Yep.
And again, it's tough. I've been on the side of, well, I won't be too depressed when they go out there and sign Corbin Burns and Teoscar Hernandez and a couple of other players, and they make the team more, much better than it is right now. But at the same time, Kevin, if they sign him to a deal you just mentioned, 650 divided by 14 would be $46 million a year.
Mm-hmm.
They have $170 million coming off the books. You are still capable of going out there and getting quality arms this year. $170 million coming off the books. David Stern says, we'll probably use all of that this year. There is no reason. I'm not saying they have to go sign Soto and Burns, but there are other pitchers available. You could sign Soto. You can go out there and get, a Max Fried, a Blake Snell, somebody
Even
like that.
run the risk on Walker Buehler, Shane Bieber. I know they've had their injury issues.
Right, the bottom of the rotation.
You know how great those guys can be, and you already have pitchers that, you can kind of say if Buehler or Bieber are 3.6 ERA guys, we're still happy with the contract.
It's huge. So I don't know. It's a very interesting offseason for the Mets. More so, and I think it's weird to feel this way, but there's this sense of optimism around them because they're going to spend it. They're going to make this team better. It's just, how do they go about it? I feel like it's different with the Yankees. There's pressure. There's a lot of holes, and you don't know how they're going to allocate these funds.
And that Steinbrenner, while he spends, I don't knock him for the spending. I always knock Cashman for the resource allocation. But Steinbrenner has a budget. He has somewhat of a budget here at the top of that, that cap threshold, like of that payroll threshold, that he's kind of saying, like, let's not go all the way here. Let's just get to the top, stay at the top of the league payrolls. But I'm not willing to go to 340 million with my payroll just yet. I gotta wait for the thresholds to go up.
Let me say this. I think the difference between Steinbrenner and Cohen, that Hal's in the better spot, just like he was with Judge, was if he puts the deal that Soto wants on the table, whatever, no matter what he said after the game, which were I thought those were very harsh comments right after the game that I did not like.
Special.
Right. There were so many other ways about going about that. Right. But I think with Cohen, he holds back a little bit because he's not the premier franchise, not even in his city. Now, they're building the franchise up. They're making it a more desirable place to play. I don't disagree with that. And I'm very happy with the direction, but they're not the New York Yankees. Cohen's not going to get burned, right? Maybe he does with Soto because it's a different type of player, but he's not going to get, and I'm almost embarrassed here with offering this contract. And, if Hal's able to do the same and then he goes and spins them, he doesn't want to get used here. You understand what I'm saying?
Cohen would know after one or two offers whether Soto's legitimately interested or if Soto's just bringing his offer back to the Yankees. Right. He'll know quick, and I think once he knows that, you squash the thing because that indicates two things. One, he really doesn't want to play for you. I want a guy who wants to be a Met. I want a guy, even if it's for the money, I want a guy who wants to come here and be a part of what we're doing. That I think you can sell. I don't think Corbin Burns has this affinity for the Orioles.
No,
if they're in a bidding race for him. I don't think he cares at all. I think he probably would, if there were 3 offers on the table, or even just 2. If there were 2 offers on the table, identical from the Brewers and Orioles, he might go back to Milwaukee.
Right.
I don't think there's this great affinity for Baltimore. And Soto, I do think, and this, I'm not trying to be naive here. You can call me out if you think I am. I do think Soto fell in love with being a Yankee this year. I think he did, but I think that does come at the cost with this guy of, you got to pay him.
But
what he
I think
he did
he did a great job of selling that he wasn't the other night. And maybe he is the greatest Boris trained client of all time.
like Garrett Cole did the same exact thing after his last game in Houston, and you knew Houston wasn't going to pay him, so it was different. You knew he was leaving. They weren't even involved. They didn't even offer him a contract. It was the Dodgers, the Yankees, and the Angels offered him deals. So they weren't even involved. He knew he was leaving, so it felt different. But I do think I'm not at the point yet where I really believe if the Yankees offered 600 and the Mets offered 615 that he'd leave. I think that he just wants the Yankees to know, because he does want the most amount of money. He wants them to truly think, and he's done a great job selling it. You're right. He wants them to truly believe, I'm taking the most money, and I want it to come from you guys, but I'm taking the most.
And I want to go back to a point you made about wanting to play for you and Cohen getting that sense. I think, again, where the organization is headed and the players and the leadership they have within the Mets, I think Soto will be serious, of course, with the knowledge that he would be the highest paid player, probably, highest paid position player ever. I think he would be serious about playing for the Mets. I do think that would be a place where he would want to go. So I'm not saying the Mets are out. I give it this. I think it's 60% chance he's a Yankee, 20% he's a Met, and then 20% the field.
Yeah, I would actually agree with those numbers wholeheartedly. I think I'm a little bit over that halfway point. 60 is a perfect number because I'm a little bit past halfway positive that he's going to be a Yankee again. But there is a handful of uncertainty, which would lead you to 40%, so good percentages there. Do you agree with this statement? Whichever New York team does not get Soto, you have to get Corbin Burnes.
I don't see that for the Yankees. I don't see it for the Yankees. For the Mets, yes. And by the way, again, and I've said this for months now, for the Mets, is Corbin Burnes and Teoscar Hernandez a bad consolation prize?
No, it's not. I'd be surprised if Teoscar leaves. Do you think he's going to actually hit the open market? I think he'll be the Dodgers' biggest financial decision this offseason.
I think if the right team offers him a decent contract, then I think he will.
Because that's the crazy thing about Major League Baseball, right? It's different from other sports where in the NBA, in the NFL, you have a re-sign period. Like the Dodgers typically would get 3 weeks to negotiate with him. The Yankees typically would get 3 weeks to negotiate with Soto here in other sports.
Right.
But as of the end of the World Series, you are an unrestricted free agent, and any team can now negotiate with you. That's what is very different about this free agency process. All right, I'm going to throw one to you now about the Yankees. If the Yankees lose Juan Soto, this is a feeling of mine. I just want to get your reaction.
Yeah.
If the Yankees lose Juan Soto to any team, the first guy I call up and make the highest offer to is Pete Alonso. Yeah. You agree with that, right? Okay.
So, yes and no. I think Christian Walker's a great consolation prize. It would be a short-term deal, 3 or 4 years, probably at $23 million a year. He plays a good first base. He had some great numbers the past 2 or 3 seasons. The only problem is I think he's 34. So I think even if the Yankees signed Juan Soto, Christian Walker should be on the phone next. If they missed out on him and they made another move for a different player, and it's a pretty big move, that they should be on the phone right away with Christian Walker. So either of them, I think, would work well.
All right, Alex Bregman. I'm looking up his market value right now on SpotTrack, but Alex Bregman is a fascinating free agent for me. I don't think the Yankees would have any interest in him because Cashman is so hateful towards that Astros team.
Yep.
So I don't think the Yankees would have any interest. The Mets now, after the Vientos emergence, I'd assume would have no interest in Bregman really this offseason unless you want to move Vientos to the DH spot. I don't think the Mets would be interested in Bregman.
Yeah.
But is Bregman, who is now going to be 31 on opening day next year, is this a really good, I don't know what to really say, but like at $30 million a year, that's what Spotrac has him at $30 million a year, is he still a really good free agent? Like, is this the second best free agent hitter in the class?
What did they have him as? What did they have the contract as?
4 for 119.8. So 4.
Yeah, so I would do something like that. Let's look at this for a second. Terrible for his standards. He was really bad in the first half of the year. His April and May were really, really bad, but he turned it on from June on. His second half, he had 14 homers, drove in 28 guys, not a lot of RBIs, but he hit 260, and he had an 833 OPS. That was 100 points higher than the first half of the season. So he really did finish the year strong because his numbers looked terrible towards the middle and the start. For the Mets, no.
And you're paying for October with that guy, too. That's what you're really... I mean, you need him to win you games in the regular season. You need him to have a good year, but you feel good about the guy you're getting in October. That's what really justifies $30 million a year for a 31-year-old.
You know, he's going to be 31. I mean, would you give him 5 years, 135, 140? And, you know, I don't know how he is defensively. I don't watch him enough. I think he's good. If you lost Alonso and you lost out on Soto and you signed Burns and maybe you signed one of the outfielders and this is a guy that's available, you move Vientos to first. That's a move I could see them making, but I wouldn't be in love with it.
Yeah.
But I do like the October part of it. You got to win in October.
You mentioned before Blake Snell. Are you willing to give Blake Snell a 5-year, $130 million deal?
I would be. He was so dominant.
You think that's a guy the Mets definitely are in on this offseason?
Yeah, I think he was so dominant last year. Like he showed, and again, it's a pitcher. You remember the hot take I had in the offseason last year that if Blake Snell signed with the Giants, I think he'd go down as a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, and I didn't agree with it at the time. I agree with it now
because of the ballpark.
Yep.
Going to another pitcher's ballpark in Citi Field. I mean, wouldn't be bad for him,
especially for a left-hander. That's a great park for a left-hander.
I think the ballpark plays a factor for the Mets as well. That's somebody I would go after 100%.
Who are the guys here that the Mets have to re-sign out of their UFAs? Do you feel like there's any must re-sign? Because I have obviously Soto's a must re-sign for the Yankees. Yankees opted into the Weaver contract yesterday, so I feel like there's definitely some guys that are must return for the Yankees. Is there a must return group of guys for you for the Mets?
I think Iglesias has to be just for the vibes, right? Like he has to, you know, and it gives you, and it depends on the deal, right? I'm not giving the guy $10 million for 2 years, 2 years, $20 million to be a bench infielder, right? But if it's for 2 years at 15, okay, he could come back and be my first guy off the bench in the infield. I'll tell you this, there's a couple of guys I really don't want back. I really don't want Severino back. I mean, please let Severino go. Severino's got to go. I would bring back Manaea. I would. I like Manaea a lot. He's a perfect 3-starter. So I would bring Manaea back.
And I think Manaea could take a little bit of a discount to. I mean, he's got. He hasn't opted out yet. I mean, I'm sure. Whether or not they're negotiating. Whether they're negotiating, I think it's a little more. I think, is it 13? Are you looking at it? 13. Yeah, it's 13.5 actually.
Is it? I thought it was a lot more.
Spotrac says 13.5.
I thought it was 17. He hasn't opted out yet. Now, again, I completely agree with you. He's going to opt out, but maybe they're working on a deal right now. Where they just, you know what I mean? Like they're working on an extension.
Yeah. His market value right here is 2 for $29, which I think is a no-brainer for the Mets.
He's not going to get that. I think he's going to get like 4 for $100.
But what I'm saying is with Manaea, I think you can get him with I don't think 2 for $29, but that 14.5 a year, I think the Mets could snag him for like 4 for $50.
That would be perfect.
He wants to be on the Mets. I don't think he can get up to 100 either, but I think he wants to be on the Mets.
I think he wants to be too. All right, that'd be perfect. He's a perfect 3-starter. Perfect number 3 starter. With the way he pitched last season, 100%.
His contract gets compared here to Marcus Stroman from this past offseason, which I actually don't agree with. But Stroman got 18.5. I feel like Manaea is a way more valuable free agent at this point than Stroman was.
4 for $75. Let's go. Get him back. Back.
Yeah, so Minaya,
Back.
I'd bring back. I think he's a no-brainer. And then where do you stand on Alonso now that you've given the season time to breathe?
Yeah, I'm back to where I was. I have a number that I'm willing to go to, and if he wants way over that number, goodbye.
So he walks
Because you
into your office and says, "I want 6 for 175
bye.
in a contract." You say bye.
I'm on the phone
Wow.
with I'm on the phone with Christian Walker already.
Christian
I'm on the
Walker's already
phone.
a Yankee, so
I'm
he's
on the
already a
phone with
Yankee. At that point, he's
Alex. I'm on the phone with Alex Bregman already.
another Yankee. Soto, Bregman, Walker are all Yankees.
There we go.
And where
There
do
we
you
go.
go after that?
Right. You
No,
can't.
but Alonso, yeah, Alonso's a tough one. I think underrated part of his season was defense. He got a lot better defensively this year. I think he worked
did.
on that. Do you trust him to be a 6-year defender at first base? I'm not sure I do.
I don't trust him to be a hitter for the next 6 years. Like,
Well, yeah, that's where I
again,
was going to go
look
next.
at the decline. Look at the decline. It's a stark decline.
I have a feeling if he's not a Met, he's going to end up on a random Midwest team like St. Louis, Chicago. Really, just I'm literally just going to list the NL Central if I keep going.
Yeah.
So.
I agree. I think he's with Chicago. What about Adames? Adames, a very interesting free agent. Kind of feels like he's a Dodger.
That would be a great move for them.
They've talked about him so much. I've heard so much about Adames and the Dodgers. Kind of feels like Adames is going to be a Dodger.
Yeah, it does. I would agree with that. That's the best fit. There's a lot of big relief pitchers in this, which I think both teams could be looking at. You really, with the Mets, I know you have the commitment to Diaz, so they're in a little bit of a different spot, but the Yankees have a very open bullpen going into this offseason.
But just think about the way Cashman and now Stearns operate with the bullpen. It's a lot of Luke Weavers. It's a lot of Reed Garretts. You know what I mean? So, maybe the Mets or the Yankees take a flyer on one of those guys to be a setup man. But, at the end of the day, they find these diamonds in the rust and they make it work.
I think that a guy that has Yankee written all over him is Jose Leclerc, who did not have a good year this past year. 30 years old, going to be 31 by opening day. He's going to get like a year for $3 or $4 million and has good stuff. That's the type so I'm going to your point here. Like, that's the type of guy that we're going to be looking at this offseason. It's not going to be Devin Williams, not going to be Tanner Scott on these teams. It's going to be guys that have struggled, that have good stuff. Jeff Hoffman, I think, is another guy that could be like a higher price. Not that he is a high price guy, but for the Yankees and Mets standards, that could be a higher price guy they go after. Probably going to get $6 or $7 million a year. So it's interesting with the bullpens. I'd like to see the Yankees make a splash because I think they do need a power arm in the pen. And I might be nuts, but I'd like to see Luke Weaver get a chance to start next year.
Wow. That's very interesting.
I'd really like to see Luke Weaver get an opportunity to start.
Very
Came up as
interesting.
a starter, changed all his mechanics this year as kind of a flyer in the bullpen guy. They could have waived them and felt good about it before the season. DFA'd him and felt good about it. I'd like to see Weaver get a Michael King shot at starting after he's now fixed the mechanics with Matt Blake, who obviously we know at this point is a very good coach.
Right.
For pitchers. I'd like to see him get a chance to start, at least maybe throw him out there in a couple spring training games to start and just see if he's got the stuff.
That's an interesting point. I don't know. He excelled so well, but again, starters are so valuable. You could find another relief arm. Be interesting to see what happens with that.
Yeah, so a lot of good free agents.
Let me ask you this: Mets, Fried or Snell? Who would you go with?
I think I go Snell.
I think I'm going Snell too. I
don't trust saying that. I don't trust. What's Fried's value? I don't trust Fried to stay very healthy. I don't trust Snell to stay very healthy either.
Yeah,
to be fair,
I don't trust any of these guys except Burns.
No, I don't trust any of these guys. Max Fried market value is $22.7 million a year, 6-year, $136 million. Yeah, I think I'd go Snell. That's crazy to say, but I really do.
Go look. Do me a favor. Go look at what they have, because I was shocked by this. Go look at what they have Corbin Burns' market value at Sport Track. I was shocked by this.
All right,
I was shocked.
Corbin Burns market value. $30 million. What? 6 for
Yeah.
180? No way.
I was shocked. I can't believe that.
And the thing I like about this website is when you go to statistical comparisons, they compare a bunch of stats that maybe you're not thinking of
Yeah.
doing. But so this might just indicate for me that maybe he is not getting $330 million. Maybe he's getting like 280.
Yeah, but does he break the AAV of 32? Well, no, he's not going to break the AAV either. I don't know what he's getting.
Now I have no idea. That's a and you know, maybe the site's wrong every once in a while, but they're usually not.
Are we now the biggest advocates for Sport Track here?
Yeah, we have to be.
That's huge.
We have to be. Let me see. I'm going to look elsewhere and see if they have different market values for Burns. Core Burns market value.
I would do 7 years for and again, I'm not a general manager, but I would feel good about giving him 7-8 years for 200 plus 250.
Wow.
60.
Sports Illustrated projected contract for Corbin Burns, 7-year deal worth $255 million.
Wow.
So he's not getting that money. This guy on Reddit says he used to work in an MLB front office. Definitely not true. 7 years, $205 million is his prediction.
We love the Reddit guys. We love the
Reddit guys. Wow.
It's big. It's big for Mets.
Rumor from Reddit again. From Reddit Orioles. Orioles trade rumors. Rumor has it Burns is seeking an 8-year deal worth $250 million.
You know the TikTok where the guy here's the price, then slams his card on the table like he wants to make the purchase. That's me. That's me right now. Let's go. Get it done.
That is like a revelation
my ace.
For me.
That's my ace.
That's a revelation for me to say Burns isn't going to get that money because Burns doesn't even have a massive amount of innings pitched in his career. For a guy at this stage, an ace Cy Young guy to hit the open market, he has a very limited amount of innings pitched.
That's my game 1 and 5 starter and game 7 3-inning closer right there.
No, Bueller is.
That would be nice too.
Stick to the blueprint.
That would be nice too.
So Burns, if Burns gets $30 million a year, why not just get him and Soto?
Yeah, there's really no reason not to.
Now both teams. I was looking yesterday. The Yankees probably have about $90 million to work with this offseason. They're getting that off the books. I think that's what they'll safely spend, and then maybe they add 10. I don't know, but you can safely guess that they're comfortable with spending $90 million. So if you give Soto 50, 55, and you give Burns 35, I'd rather that than Soto 50, and then I don't know.
You have other needs though. You can't just go to 2 guys.
Yeah, but I would go all in on the 2
I know, but you can't.
Just forget the other needs.
He has
forget
to go.
about getting a first baseman. We'll suffer with Ben Rice till the deadline.
No.
Forget about a second baseman.
This isn't going to be a good team, though. This isn't going to be a good team.
But it's going to be a good team on the days that Cole and Burns pitch.
Look at what
and if you get Cole and Burns, I guarantee you already have 40 wins. Guaranteed.
Look at what happened last season. You had this blueprint of
Soto
Soto
season 40-0 if you get Burns.
No, that's not realistic. That's not a formula for winning.
And then you trade.
You can't ban spread like Steve Cohen. Come on, we can do that. You guys can't.
And then you trade Dominguez for Jonathan India.
What the hell's his deal? That's a terrible trade. What's Dominguez's deal? Is he gonna be another bust? What's going on here?
I don't know. I think he's got to be the opening day starter in left field, though, or center field, whatever one Judge isn't going to play, and just got to get him to learn. If Soto and Verdugo are both gone, Dominguez is definitely playing.
Yeah. Well, I think regardless if Soto's back, I mean, obviously Verdugo's gone, but if Soto's back, Like, come
Yeah. All right, let me throw you a big name trade target that I think could get moved this offseason.
on. Okay, go.
Ready?
Yeah.
Sandy Alcantara.
Yeah, but how aggressive are you going to be? Guy wasn't
Very,
good.
very.
And then he had Tommy John.
But could you see him getting moved?
Hold on. Let me look.
And that'll garner a big prospect still.
And because he signed a very team-friendly deal. He signed through 2026.
And now this is why, because the Marlins, he might be at his peak value now. If he's not good next year, his value's gone.
All right, yeah, I would trade for him. You trading Spencer Jones for him?
If I only have to do that and one really bad prospect, I would.
Okay.
And if you re-signed Soto, because then you still have flexibility of like $35 million to spend on the rest of your team.
I forgot he existed.
Yeah, I think he's gonna get moved. He's forgettable after the last 2 years.
Well, he was hurt. He didn't pitch.
Yeah. But because of that scenario and the franchise, he's become very forgettable in the big picture of the league.
Maybe he should be a Met too.
No. He probably should be a Yankee. He probably should be.
That's fair. He was better in the second half of that 23 season too, so it was kind of just like an aberration early.
Yeah. What do you think about like a couple of the positions in free agency? I feel are very shallow. So, third base, I'm just pulling it up. Third base and second base, both needs for the Yankees, but you only have to get one because of Chisholm. Is
right.
Like second base, Torres is far and away the best guy.
Right.
Not even close. No, like the next best is Brandon Drury or Adam Frazier. But you don't want him back. So you feel, hey, Chisholm's got to play second base because look at the free agents. Third base, it's Bregman, Moncada, Urshela. Those are the starters.
Let's see.
Those are the only three guys that I think would start for the Yankees if he signed him. And I don't want Moncada or Urshela.
What position?
Third base.
Wow.
Third base and second base. Unless you want to go and get Adames.
Well, I think it's going to be a very aggressive trade market too.
Could Kike Hernandez be a guy that I think it will be a very aggressive trade market. You're right. Could Kike Hernandez be a guy that you go to and say,
no,
he's so great in October. Let's try and survive with him the other 6 months.
No. Would he come here? Especially after the comments he made.
Oh, yeah, you're right. You're right.
Like, I don't think he'd come here. How about Bellinger again? Let's start the Bellinger Yankee rumors.
Is he going to hit free agency? Because he's got the option.
Hashtag Bellinger replaces Soto. Let's go 2025.
Why does that have to be a hashtag?
Because you hate Bellinger. You don't want Bellinger. Ever since I've known Kevin, he's been so anti Bellinger Yankee. It's crazy. He's been a free agent every year now.
He's a free agent every. Look at that, Soto. That's what happens when you get Boris and let him do his thing. Just come sign with the Yankees right away. Secure your money. Don't play around.
If I see one more fan page, a Mets fan page, say reunion with Michael Conforto, delete your account. Delete it. No, we don't. How many? I think Met fans think they're adding another outfield position with how many outfielders they want this team to sign. They want Soto. They want Winker back. They want Conforto back. I mean, Jesus Christ.
Scherzer?
Good.
Scherzer free agent.
He's opting in.
Oh, yeah, he's going to. Does he have an opt?
Was it done?
No, this is it. This is the third. That was the third year.
Yeah, he already opted out.
This past year was his opt.
Yeah. My bad, Pam.
Do you think Robbie Ray opts out of $25 million this year? Probably not after being hurt, right?
He was hurt. He'll pitch there, hit the market next year.
And I just don't think he has any open market value at this point.
Let's see. What's the free agents next year? Yeah, I mean, there's not many great free agents next year either.
Does Anthony Rizzo retire after this offseason?
No, he's back.
With the Yankees?
No. He's just going to play somewhere. Maybe Chicago.
Yeah, maybe he just goes back to Chicago.
Maybe back to Chicago. When they let Bellinger walk for the Yanks.
No. Bellinger's not walking for the Yanks.
Okay.
It's not happening. It's not happening.
All right.
Yeah, so free agency is going to be big. This free agency class, though, the infielders are horrible. And
Yeah.
besides the first baseman, the infielders are awful.
Good outfielders. A lot of trades. Some pitchers. It's going to be fun. I can't wait.
I'm excited. It's going to be fun. But
I love talking.
Think,
I love talking free agency, too. I love this.
Yeah,
this
we'll
is
be
like
back.
One of my favorite parts about baseball.
We'll be back throughout the offseason to discuss free agency for sure at different points. We'll post it on Instagram. Hey, a couple days in advance. Burrows this time.
Yeah.
Free agency. Yeah, so anything else today in the free agent world? Wrapping up 2024 baseball.
I'm good. I mean, sad for your Yanks. It's tough.
Sad for your Mets.
Yeah, well, they'll be back. They'll be back.
Oh, the Yankees won't be back?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. We'll see.
Who's their biggest contender in the AL? The Red Sox?
Definitely not the Red Sox.
Be back. Red Sox.
The Orioles.
The Orioles are
nobody
done.
in the AL. You know what's funny? I love this stat here. Love this stat about your AL Central. Hold on, pull it up.
Don't pull it. I know what you're gonna do. Don't pull it up. We don't need it.
Yankees are 6-0 in playoff series against the AL Central since 2013 and 0-6 in series against all other postseason opponents. 19-6 versus the AL Central, 10-24 against the others.
Dude, don't bring that up.
Sorry.
Don't bring that
Maybe beat a non-AL Central team in the postseason, and then we could talk about being back.
They are back, but the Evil Empire's back.
It's not.
It is. Everyone's making fun. Oh, Yankees lost in 5. Well, 2 months from now, when the Burns, Soto, Santander, Bellinger press conference is going on, everyone's going to be like, "Oh God."
They're going to do all 4 at the same time.
Yeah, all 4.
Okay.
And Mania.
Don't do that. You're not allowed to take that. You can't do that.
And Severino reunion.
You can have him back. That's fine. We don't want it back.
Severino met.
No, I'd be I'd be very unhappy with that.
Let me gun to your head. Soto, where does he end up?
I still think the Yankees.
Okay,
but it's closer. Like I think it's definitely the Mets are more of an option, and the Phillies are more of an option. So
Alonso,
the Cubs,
and Burns,
the Mets.
All right. So do you have expectations for Burns here? Are you going to be upset if they don't get Soto or Burns and they end up getting Snell, re-sign Alonso, re-sign Mania? Are you upset?
I need one more offensive move. I need one of those outfielders, and I'm good.
Santander, would you be happy with?
Yeah, I like Anthony.
Do you think either Santander or Burns stay with the Orioles? I don't think so.
No. Maybe Santander.
Okay.
If Teoscar leaves and signs somewhere else, then I think Santander has a chance to stay, but I still don't think he would. But if Teoscar signs there, he's gonna get a huge contract offer.
Yeah. All right. That's you. I'm good. I'm good for today.
Yeah, I'm good for today. Can't wait more off season soon.
All right. We'll be back in a few weeks. Thank you so much for listening to the Burrows throughout the year. 2024 was a great baseball season for the Yankees, for the Mets, for all of Major League Baseball. We had a blast walking through it every week. 27 episodes, Mike. We're finally here at the end of the season.
27, just like the amount of championships the Yankees still have.
Yes, that's real.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
Stunning revelation.
I'm sorry.
25 more than the Mets have. So we will get back on here probably in 2 or 3 weeks once rumors start heating up, winter meetings, stuff like that comes around throughout the offseason. But thank you for listening, for watching. As always, this will be up on Spotify. Make sure to check out The Hardline. Make sure to check out The Bunker every morning on Spotify. Make sure to check out coming next week, Coast to Coast Basketball. Myself, Gabe Zoda, will be taking that, and the band list should get going one day with Jack Lodge.
When's that happening?
I mean, one episode 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, maybe 4 weeks ago. I don't even know. And we're still sitting here.
Did they do an episode?
They did one on Spotify.
Oh wow, I didn't even listen. I didn't even know.
Way in the past now. No one knew. Way in the past.
Yeah.
It's long gone. And we'll see if they do a second one or if it's just over. So,
are you good to recap tomorrow?
Yeah, we're recapping. Sunday recap. Forgot about
Back.
Sunday recap. Sunday recap
back
back tomorrow, 7:30 p.m. live, talking about everything football except the Giants. We're not talking about the Giants.
Giants.
We're not talking about the Giants tomorrow. Done. Giants are done.
We'll be talking about a Giants win tomorrow, everybody. Giants win tomorrow.
Marlo says trap game for the Commanders tomorrow at MetLife.
Let us know what you think.
Let us know what you think. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for listening, and be safe, be well. Hope you enjoyed your Halloween also. Good Halloween weekend. All right, later.